hear me, I'm a bit of a low talker, so I was thinking when I was watching Troy that I probably should do the other mic, but if you can hear me okay, then that's great. But I'll try to speak as loudly as I can. So yeah, I really resonate with Troy. I love him to death. I met him on a call recently, a speaker call, and I thought, I really like this guy. And I really like the fact that he has that fact and faith coming together, because that's really what I'm all about. I'm really, when it comes to spirituality, when it comes to leaping on blind faith, I'm not one of those people. I'm always searching out the why or the how. How is this happening, or why is this happening? So when I was in the corporate world, in HR, banking, the whole 9 yards, I wasn't happy. I was always searching for something, of course. And I'll tell you a bit about my journey to become a numerologist and to become a speaker, and how I came from, way in the East Coast to here in LA. But first I want to start off with a story about Oprah, because she really is an inspiration to me, and I really resonate with her story, because she came from a life of poverty to becoming this huge success. And one of the things that we both have in common is the fact that Oprah, in the beginning, way back before she was successful, way back before she knew any of this was going to manifest for her, she went to see a psychic. And, I'm not one to believe psychics on blind faith either, but, when they're good, they're good. And this particular psychic said to Oprah, "You will speak in front of millions." And it was very matter of fact. It wasn't wishy-washy or anything. It was very doubtless in that, she said that this will happen. And so Oprah kept that with her, and she believes that she used those words in some way to manifest all that she had created. And likewise, I saw a psychic myself about 12 years ago when this whole journey began for me. And this psychic told me that my work would be Oprah big. And I truly believe that all of that I've accomplished to this day is a result of those words. So that is the power of words. And I've always been fascinated by the written word. And from a very small age, I can remember being in a closet writing stories, being fascinated with words and how they could create stories and create anything we wanted on paper. So today, I'm still using words, but I'm using it to manifest everything I want, and it's happening. I don't have to try anymore. I don't have to push the boulder up the hill. It's rolling down the other side. So I'm here today to show you that changing your words can change your life, and it's that easy. And, the law of attraction doesn't always work, and I'm proof. I'm sure most of the people in the room have tried it, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So why? Why doesn't it? And one of the main reasons the law of attraction doesn't work is because we doubt the process in some form. And one of the ways that we doubt the process is kind of a hidden form that we're not really aware of, and it's words. So we may be imagining that house on the hill, or that dream car, or dream job that we want, but it's not happening, because we're going through our daily life undermining our entire energy. I had a client once who had these incredible aspirations. He was the most ambitious client I had at the time, but he would follow almost every other sentence with, "But the problem is." So we had a lot of problems. Let's just say that. So, there's a lot of inspiration behind it, but I want to tell you a little bit about my own story first, because for me, like I said, I like a lot of fact with my faith. So some of you may be saying, okay, who is she to tell me that changing my words can change my life? I can probably write some of what she's got in her book, but is she an expert? Does she know what she's talking about? I'd like to tell you a little bit, because I know that helps me when I'm listening to someone. How do they know that? Or, do they really know their stuff? So I'm going to tell you my journey. So yes, I came from the corporate world, banking, HR, because I was good at it. I didn't like it, but I was good at it. And I did that for a while, and then I started to dream in numbers every night when I was in my mid-20s. And at the time, I was not spiritual at all. Didn't go to church, wasn't traditionally religious, didn't even know about spirituality, really. And it was this strange phenomenon. Every night, I would wake up in the middle of the night or in the morning, and I would have these number codes in my head. So they would be on street signs, license plates, you name it. It was everywhere in my dreams. So I would write them down, had no idea what they meant or why I was dreaming in numbers. And this went on for about 3 months. And at the end of the 3 months, I said, okay, this is ridiculous. I have to figure out what's going on. I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone. Yes, is an alien race trying to communicate with me? What's going on here? So I started to research on the internet and looking around in books and the bookstores and trying to figure out what it was and where it was coming from. And I stumbled upon numerology. And being that factual, scientific person, I really resonated with the science of numbers. And it is a highly accurate science. I always say it's more like metaphysics, or quantum physics than metaphysics, sorry. And I just fell in love with it. It really was, those number codes that I was dreaming about, they were answers to all the challenges that I was facing at the time. So I was blown away. I thought, wow, someone's giving me answers from the ethers or wherever it was that it was coming from. So I was hooked. And I self-taught numerology in a matter of a couple of weeks. And the rest is history when it comes to numerology. I've been teaching it, I've been sharing it, I've been doing charts, I've been, you name it. And now I'm applying it to things like words. And that was another story. I stumbled upon the fact that we can convert anything to numbers. And if you think about numbers, every number in existence is created with the numbers 1 to 9. And also 0, which is more of a symbol than a number. And numerology is built around the cycles of 1 to 9. So when I do things like workshops or talks, people say to me, how are you so accurate? You're always right. And I say to them, I wish I could take credit for it. I wish I could say, I'm always right and I'm just fabulous. But it's really not me. It's the science of numbers. And it can be applied to everything to see the unseen. And it has guided my life to such an extent that I feel like every day I'm the luckiest person in the world because I'm able to use numbers to get me to wherever I need to be to manifest whatever I want to manifest. It is the most incredible thing. And the past 2 years for me have been an upward climb, and it's so easy. It just is incredible. For example, I came from a very impoverished family. By all rights, I should be a third-generation welfare recipient with 6 kids by now. But I'm not. I'm here in LA on an O1 visa, and I'm living the dream. I'm living the California dream every day and doing what I love, traveling the countryside, doing what I want to do. And it's all because of the numbers. It's all because of revealing. And like Troy said, I love that. It's just a different way to see the same truth. You might be using something different to manifest what you want to manifest, but that's my tool. That's what I resonate with. That's what I use every day. So I'm going to teach you some of the tricks and the oh, great. I didn't add that. Someone added that for me. Great. I love it. You jazzed it up for me. Okay, so I guess we have to... Okay, so with words, the way that I stumbled upon the word, the written, spoken, and thinking in terms of words, how I stumbled upon this was through numbers. That's really the first way that I realized how powerful words really are. Because we, as humans, we're really the only species that can consciously communicate with words. They are a gift and a tool that we can use to consciously create. Other species go through life on a more instinctual level, but we use words, and really words are the key here. The words, whether it be the law of attraction, we're thinking about them, or we're writing it, or we're speaking it, we're changing our reality moment by moment. And if you think about the fact that as humans, we're really here to learn from each other. And how do we do that? Connection with each other. We speak to each other on a daily basis, and like I'm telling you information right now, you're learning, you're growing, you're changing, and it's through words. So what I did, I was looking at my own words because I had always been a people pleaser, growing up in a, like I say, in a poor household and feeling like I was never good enough, feeling like I always had to hide who I was and, lying to my friends saying, oh, my mom's a doctor or something like that, just feeling like I was never good enough or okay to tell the truth of who I really was. So when I looked at my vocabulary and looked at the fact that, I'm not where I need to be. I'm in HR, I'm at a bank, I hate it, I hate my life, I don't know how to change it. But I looked at the words that I used and I realized that they were so doubt-filled, they were so wishy-washy. And if you think about the law of attraction, it has to be doubtless. It has to be firm. The universe doesn't say, well, maybe. Do you really want this? Well, maybe. you have to say yes or no. Do you want this? And then it will bring it, it'll manifest. So that's what I initially started out doing, was looking at my own vocabulary and saying, how can I change this? And of course, being a numerologist, I was applying numbers to everything, including words. And I was stunned, absolutely blown away by the fact that I could take any word and convert it with numbers, and it meant exactly what the dictionary definition was, and then some. So if you look at, say the word hate, if we say, I hate you, which is very powerful. It's very energetically stripping when we say, I hate you, because it feels like you're literally taking a strip off. And it's very truth-revealing. There's nothing left to be said when you say, I hate you. There's the truth, right? So the word hate, for example, vibrates to the number 7. 7 is the number of truth. It's the truth seeker. So it's all about, trust and distrust in the negative. So when we say, I hate you, there's a level of distrust there. There's a level of, standoffish kind of energy. So any word you do, any word, and you can put me to the test, because you could give me any word and I would convert it and I would show you that that's what it means from a numbers perspective. So for me, it just changed my life, because I was able to change my words from the doubt, wishy-washy ones, being the people pleaser, saying, well, maybe, I don't know, but should I? Always looking to other people for the answers. And then I started using words like absolutely, certainly. Those kinds of things that really felt like I knew without a doubt that's what I wanted and that's what I needed. And boom. The past 2 years, like I say, have been a river of synchronicity. I've manifested everything and then some. I just got my first royalty check in the mail the other day, and it far exceeded what I thought that it would be. And everything is so easy. Thank you. And I'm just in awe every day, every day. And if you think about the fact that, think of the positive person in your life that you resonate with the most. Who in your mind is your greatest mentor, or the one that you look to maybe model your own life after, or someone who you can think of that is very successful and happy? What kind of words do they use? Happy, successful people always choose more positive words. And that is a huge role in what they're manifesting. And there was actually a study done in 2005 by a professor at the University of Pennsylvania that said that up to 50% of the words that we use to express emotion are negative. So what are we creating in our lives right now? Most of us are creating negativity. We're frustrated. We're not getting what we want. We're not producing the results in our lives that we want to create. So the bottom line is the words that we use are really key. And if you think about words, we think, speak, and write in words. It takes up a huge part of our lives. I mean, right now, people are making notes. They're writing. You're thinking. And you're probably maybe whispering to your neighbor something, in words. So it's huge, right? I mean, if you think about words, they've built and destroyed nations, started and ended in wars, just built empires. Think about these famous words that these great leaders have spoken that have resonated through centuries. Those kinds of things. These are powerful. Words are unmatched in terms of any other form of human expression. They have the ability to change your life in an instant. Think about a word that you might have said to someone that you regretted. It could change a relationship in the blink of an eye. It can, the power is unmatched to be able to change both your inner and outer existence. Okay, so the law of attraction. Being the scientific, factual person, when I first started into the realm of spirituality, the law of attraction to me was hodgepodge. I thought, okay, it's like that bubble thing that people tell you to put up, the blocking. And I thought, okay. Yeah, show me that it works, So I did a little research on my own about the law of attraction, and I tried it out. It didn't work for me. And it didn't work until I changed my words. And it works every time for me now. I mean, I just have to think about it, and it's there. It's boom. It manifests like in breakneck speed. And the thing is with words is that, like I said about the client who had that scenario of the problem is, you need to look at your underlying vocabulary. The book that I wrote, The Energy of Words, goes into the top 10 power words. Because really, when we talk about words and word power, it's the words that we use the most that have the most influence on us, because that's just bottom line. We're using it the most, so it's going to affect us the most. So the book does go into that, but definitely the law of attraction works. But I believe, whoopsie, I believe that the key, the key is the words. Because the law of attraction is about words. It's about thinking words, right? And we think, okay, I've got the thinking down pat. I've got that thought about that house on the hill, or, I'm imagining it every day, and I'm running the scenario through my mind. I'm thinking about it. I'm talking about it, mental chatter. I've got it down pat. I should have that house in a week. But really, no, because you're going through your life saying, oh, darn it, I regret this, or I should have did that, or I should have said that. And so your energy is not where it needs to be. It needs to be doubtless, and that's the bottom line. Okay, so negative words are like energetic junk food, really. It's kind of like filling your body. Do you want to fill it with positive or negative? And if you're using negative words, and up to 50% of the words that we use are negative, then you're interjecting doubt into the process. You're saying, I want that, but this is what's really manifesting. So what you want to do is eliminate as many of the words that you use that are negative as possible. And you can break it down in chunks, of course. You don't have to say, okay, well, I have 50 words that I'm using that are negative. I'm going to try to change that in a week. It's something that takes time. You didn't build up those negative words overnight, and you're not going to change them overnight. So you need to, it's a practice makes perfect scenario. It's all about changing your patterns. And that's the thing about numbers and numerology, is that it's patterns. The whole world is created with patterns. And I truly believe if we could peel back the existence or the energetic grid, it would be a number code. Our DNA is a number code, and so the numbers are like spiritual DNA. And that is, when we convert a word, it's like the word's DNA. What are we saying with those words? So with negative words, the first step is awareness. You need to be aware that you're saying them, because most people don't even realize, like that client I had that said the problem is, he wasn't even aware that he said that word after every sentence. So the first thing is really paying attention to what you're saying. Ask other people too, because like that client, I had to say, you're saying the problem is after every other sentence. And he's, really? He had no clue. So really ask other people as well, and make a list. Make a list of your words. What are you saying every day? What are you really, truly creating with the words that you're saying? Okay, so this is what I'm saying, the top 10 power words. These are key. These are pivotal, because changing these, you're going to see your life switch completely. You're going to do a 180 shift. If you can at least take 10 words that you speak the most, make that list, write them down. And as I'm talking, if you can think of words that you are saying now, I may do a couple of examples. So jot them down as you're thinking of them. Like I say, one of my favorite words is absolutely. I love that word. I say it all the time. Sometimes when I'm doing media interviews, I have to catch myself in my head mentally, because I'll say, I said it once, I can't say it again. Because I love it so much. I just love to say absolutely, because it's so affirmative and it's so absolute, right? So it just really makes me feel good. And that's one of the things I really want to go into, is that, yes, your top 10 words are really the key to hindering your success and happiness, but revealing the energy of a word is, I just lost my train of thought. I have to say, I don't know if anyone's feeling the energy lately, but I'm only 36, but I tell you, I'm having some memory lapses these days. I feel like someone just, I don't know if you remember that movie Men in Black with the little, I always think of that. It's like someone just put that thing up and erased my memory, because I totally drew a blank for a second. I thought, oh, wow, not right now. Please, not right now. So where was I? I was saying, I was talking about that, but then I lost my train of thought when I switched the slide. Maybe that's it. Okay, I'll go back a slide and see if it'll jog my memory. Yeah. I was saying absolutely. You know what? It'll come to me. We don't have to do it, and that's the fun thing. You know, I'm a fun speaker. I'm not, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, who's perfect? No one's perfect. You know, and I want you to feel at ease with me because I make mistakes just like everybody else. You know, trial and error. But the vibration of words. So I'm going to keep going. If it comes to me, it comes to me. I'll pop it in there somewhere. But calculating the vibration of a word is like calculating the soul of a word. You know, that's the soul of it. What are you saying? What are you creating energetically when you say a word? It's not just, that's what it was. I knew it would come to me. So it is the feeling behind the word. You want to choose words that make you feel good. That's the bottom line. There's no real secret to changing your words. It's just picking words that make you feel good. You know, I like absolutely, but someone else might like the word great or the word, who knows? I mean, there's an infinite number of combinations that you could have. But the bottom line, it's just a simple rule. How does it make you feel? Because the energy of a word is the feeling behind the word. And if you think about a child, for example, a child might say a cuss word, and the parents are, oh, you know, they're gasping, and they know what it means. But to the child, it's neutral. It's not really creating anything for that child, but it's creating a lot of stress and anxiety for the parents. So that's the key to manifesting what you want and choosing the right words to manifest what you want is the feeling behind them, bottom line. So, you know, if you could sum up my talk at the end, that would be it. You know, one takeaway, choose words that make you feel good and that are doubtless. So usually they coincide, but that's the key for sure. So let me see here. Where did I leave off? Okay, so yes, so we have two meanings to a word. We have the dictionary definition and what society says the word should mean, and then the deeper energetic definition that shows us what we're truly creating in conjunction with that societal definition of what a word is. So I look at both because we really do need to see both sides of the spectrum because it's the patterns we have behind it as well. You know, what do we believe that word actually means? And it may be something related to our background, or it may be an experience that we had that we attached to that particular word. So we have to look at both sides of the spectrum here. We have to look at, you know, what it means to us on an outward level, but also on that deeper energetic level. So what I do is I use numerology and that pattern energy because everything to me is scientific. I look at the world through scientific eyes. I look at it through those number codes of 1 to 9 because I can really, whether I'm looking at your date of birth or whether I'm looking at a house address or I'm looking at a license plate or any of it, it's all energy to me, and I convert it and I say, what's the message here? What's the deeper meaning in this? And that's what I do with the words, is that I reveal the deeper meaning through these base patterns of 1 to 9. So this is how we convert. And if we're talking about the alphabet, this is another way that we apply those number patterns to the alphabet. So we're looking at assigning each letter of the alphabet one of those patterns of 1 to 9. So whether we're talking about this table or you know, the guy in the front row with the nice tie, he's got an energy pattern. Everything has an energy pattern that can be reduced down to these base values of 1 to 9. And that includes the letters in the alphabet. So if you think about it in the sense of like a musical note, what song are we playing with the words that we're saying? You know, what harmony are we playing? So really that's what it is. These number patterns are like musical notes or harmonies that we're sending out. So if you want to jot that down real quick, it's easy to sketch out. You just kind of put the numbers 1 to 9 and then write the alphabet in a string. So you get A, B, C, D, all the way up to I, and then go back down to J again and write it down. Because we're going to be doing a couple of examples just for fun. Just so you see some proof in the pudding, because I always like to give proof in the pudding, you know? Yes? Sure. Well, 0 is more of a symbol than a number. So it's not necessarily, it's sort of like the concept of the fact that, is it black? I can't remember if it's black that they say is colorless, or is it black? Yeah, something like that. So if you could look at 0 like that, it's kind of not necessarily a number pattern because it's 0. It represents the infinite or spiritual awareness. It's you know, the circular energy. Pardon? Endless, yes, that's a good word. Yes, perfect. So yes, we don't use those because everything is reduced down to those base patterns of 1 to 9. So again, I guess it's not a very good explanation as to the why or the how, but that's my definition of it. So does everyone have that kind of jotted down, or yes? We can always flip back to it, definitely. Okay. All right, so I'm going to do a couple of examples here. And two of them are love and fear, because love and fear, they say, are the two base emotions, and everything else is derived from those two base emotions. And I kind of believe that. I really do, because I think, and we were talking about the fact that the words that we use have to feel good, and they have to be doubtless, and the feeling is really the power behind the word. So I wanted to look at love and fear because they are said to be the base emotions. So converting the word love, what does love mean? What does it really mean when we say I love you? Or love is all there is? Or, anything related to that energy. What are we really putting out there? So converting it, we take the L, which is 3, the 0 is a 6, the V is a 4, and the E is a 5. So what we do, we always want to find the base value. What is the base pattern? The base energy of that particular word. So when we say love, it's like I say, a harmony or a melody. What is that note? What are we striking? What chord are we striking when we say love? It's a 9. 9 energy represents, because we go in cycles of 1 to 9 and back down to 1 again, we are representing here the beginning and the end of a cycle. So yes, love is all there is. It's that infinite circle. And it is the highest change number. So they say, love can change everything, or love is something that can change the world, right? That's okay.
So, Spanish language will have a next letter.
Yes. Yes, and I'm actually converting my book now to French, so I'm rewriting, and I see that in different cultures, is that things like amour in the French language. But if you look at different cultures, they do have a slight tweak on how words are perceived in their culture. For example, I'm from the east coast of Canada, right beside Quebec, which they have a very different, a societal outlook than the rest of Canada. They're very forceful people. They're very assertive. I love them to death. They're great people. And I actually had someone working in the call center in the bank that I was working for who literally stopped the entire bank in a silence because she was on the phone with a customer. And she became extremely loud, and so there's a lot of, they're very assertive people. Let's leave it at that. But they're very expressive. Yes, they are. So when we talk about different cultures and different word meanings, yes, it can be a different energy. It can mean something different from a societal perspective. So the way that Americans look at love may be different from the way France does, or Africa. So I see it all the time. I convert the words in different languages, and again, it usually coincides 99.9% of the time. Nothing is 100% accurate, of course, but it's all perspective too. It's all in how you see the energy as well, and how you're using it. So for example, the 9 energy. 9 is the humanitarian number. Gandhi and Mother Teresa were the 9 life paths. So it is an energy that is very selfless, very giving, very much the word love. It definitely resonates completely. And now fear. We add up fear and assign it numerical values. It's a 3. 3 is the number of imagination and memory in the positive. So if we're talking in numbers or talking in anything, there's always a positive and a negative side to energy, if we're speaking in the energetic sense. So like numbers, for example, there's always a positive and a negative side to that energy. And 3, in the negative, is all about self-doubt and self-criticism. For example, numerologically speaking, I'm a 3 life path, and I suffered from a lot of self-doubt and a lot of self-criticism early on. And it tends to carry through, whether you're talking about a word, a person, whatever you're talking about, that 3 in the negative is always going to be about self-doubt and self-criticism. And being the number of imagination, where do most of our fears reside? They're in our imagination. They're not really true. You think about phobias or unrealistic fears, those kinds of things. That's the negative side of the 3. So you could take any word and convert it, and it's always going to mean what the dictionary definition represents, but then some. It's giving you clues as to what you're manifesting with that word. So when you say, I fear this, or, I fear that I'm going to lose my house because of this recession, you are injecting self-doubt and self-criticism and unrealistic fears and irrational thoughts. So with the negative patterns, now this is the other side of the spectrum. So we want to choose words that make you feel good and that are doubtless, and it's the feeling behind the word that's going to help you manifest what you want. So that's what you're always looking to when you choose these words. How does it make me feel? But we also want to look at what caused you to choose those words. So if you write your top 10 power list, your top 10 words that you use on a regular basis, why did you choose those words? And you might want to have a deep, conversation with yourself as to why you chose those. Was it a childhood experience? Was it something you can pinpoint from your experiences that caused you to choose these negative words? Are you beating yourself up because you have low self-esteem? Do you have a tendency like I do or did to have that self-doubt and self-criticism eat you alive? Why are you choosing these wishy-washy words that don't give you the results that you want? So definitely that's the twofold aspect. You want to choose words that make you feel good, but you also want to uncover why you're using them, because that's really the aha moment with it that says, okay, this is why I need to change this pattern. Okay, so yes, we went into the feeling aspect, so that would be the second. So uncovering the patterns and decoding your feelings. So what feelings do you have associated with those words? So after you've uncovered the pattern and say, okay, I was bullied as a child and I always felt powerless. So I use words that are related to that sense of powerlessness. So the next step is to get the feelings behind it. So how do those words make you feel when you use them? So when you say things like, oh, I don't know, maybe, does it make you feel good? Does it make you feel like you're going to get what you want or that you're going to manifest that dream job? No, it doesn't. So you really need to write down the words associated with those words in terms of feeling. So it might make you feel sad, or it might make you feel helpless or hopeless, that kind of energy. So it's really going to give you some keys as to, is this word negative or positive? Is it creating what I want to create? What is it doing for me? So the bottom line is, if you want positivity, if you want abundance, you need to match your words with that. It's the law of attraction, right? Like attracts like. So it filters through whether we're talking about words or anything else. Okay, so here are some examples of doubt-filled words. So when I was saying that you need to choose words that make you feel good, that are doubtless, these are examples. But, maybe, should, well, I was guilty of using all of those. And then certainly, absolutely, I love that one. Sure and yes. Those are all examples of doubtless words. Think about when you say those words. They're very affirmative. They're very, doubtless, but they're also an energy that makes you feel like you're going to get what you want, that you're going to manifest what you desire. I was always fascinated with Wayne Dyer because, only for one reason. I was never really one to follow any particular leader, and I love what Troy said about picking and choosing things that resonate with you, picking teachers, picking tidbits of information. And you may only take one or two things away from what I said, or you may love everything I said. Who knows? But that's why I loved Wayne Dyer. There was one reason. He could say the word no very affirmatively and very doubtlessly. And I always admired that. Whenever I saw him say the word no, it wasn't forceful, and it wasn't acting as though he were, exerting anything. It was just very calm, no. And he was very centered in his being. You could see it in his expression that he was saying it in the sense that he knew what he wanted. And it wasn't, for example, women. Women are guilty of being the martyrs, for example. We don't want to say no. We want to be nice to everyone. We want to do for others. We tend to be more guilty than men. Men seem to, on average, have an easier time to say that word no. So I think as a woman, being in that self-doubt and self-criticism mode at the time and seeing Wayne Dyer say the word no so eloquently, but so doubtlessly, and just in that sense of neutral energy, so to speak, but still being able to say it. It just really stuck with me. So that's why I say when you talk about words that are doubtless, like certainly, absolutely, sure, and yes, it just makes you feel as though there is no room for error. There's no room for doubt. There's no room for not manifesting what you desire. So I've developed 7 key strategies because I'm all about, okay, show me. How do I do it? And it's the practical spirituality that I love. And whenever I present something or whenever I give information to someone, I always want to be sure that they can incorporate it into real life. Because who has time to meditate on the mountaintop? I sure as heck don't. So we really need to have something that we can do every day, that it doesn't take, hours and hours, that we can just incorporate, go about our day, and still be changing our lives. So these are the 7 key strategies that I use when I'm talking about changing someone's vocabulary. Number 1, that's a must, is positive equals positive. You want to surround yourself with positive people, places, and things. Bottom line. If you want to be positive, positive attracts abundance. Positive attracts what you want, what you desire. So you need to surround yourself as much as possible with that. If you have negative coworkers, or if you have, for myself, I had to cut out even some family members because I just couldn't manifest the life I wanted to manifest with these people in my life. It just took my energy to a place that it didn't need to be. And they were exerting words on me, and you got to think about that too. It's not just about the words that you use for yourself, how it has an effect on yourself. It's everybody. If I said I hate you, that's going to have a ripple effect in your life. You're going to be in a bad mood. You're going to be, spewing words to someone else probably the same day. So you really need to keep everything in the positive as much as possible. And I'm finding lately, and I think there's a big shift energetically, like I say, with this whole memory thing, because I'm finding that a lot of people are coming to me saying, I just can't tolerate the negativity like I used to. I just can't be around negative people anymore. And their tolerance level has gone from maybe 10 to 0, that kind of energy. And I'm right there with them because I definitely feel like I need to be positive all the time. And I feel like I physically get ill when I'm around someone who is really negative and really... And I saw a couple people here, actually, when I was walking through the building who looked like those negative people, and I avoided them. I didn't want to talk with them, and I kind of just went on my way, and I talked with this really nice lady and asked her about her tag. You can sense people, you know right off the bat if they're carrying positive or negative energy. And that's because we can feel it. Does it feel good? Does it feel bad? The next one is write it down. And it's basic. I love basic stuff. That's what I'm all about. Practical spirituality. I can't say it enough. Love to say it. Write it down. Practice makes perfect. If you're going to change your words, you've got your top 10 lists, and you say, wow, 9 out of these 10 words are negative. How am I going to change these? I'm going to pick a new set of words to replace these ones, but how am I going to change them? Because I keep messing up and saying those negative words again. So write them down. Write them down on a sticky note, stick them in your car, stick them on the mirrors. I know it's been done many times before, and many books say it, and, every spiritual leader has probably used it, but it works. It works to change your patterns. It works to change the repetitiveness because we are creatures of habit. And in order to change our vocabulary, we need to practice it. So as much as you can write it down, write it down. Do a journaling, write sentences. If you have a moment, say you're on break at work, write a sentence with the new word that you've chosen for the day. Say you pick a word a day for the next 10 days and start writing them down. So hit repeat. Repeat it as much as possible. Try to pick, say you're out with friends and you want to incorporate that word. And you set a goal for, I'm going to use this word 3 times tonight. And do that. Put it in sentences. Be conscious. That's the bottom line. Be conscious. You're always consciously aware. What am I going to say? If you're in a situation like this and you're meeting new people and you're shaking their hand, be conscious of what you're going to say to them. Always be aware in the moment of the words that you're going to choose to use because they're going to create something in the moment. I might meet you and shake your hand, and what I say could make or break whether you like me, that kind of thing. So you got to be conscious about what you're saying, but also repetitive. It's all about hitting that repeat button. Repeat, and if you're still not there, do it again. So broaden your horizons is another one, because so many people are, narrow-minded when it comes to changing your words and, changing things like that. They think, oh, this is too much work. I don't have time for this. And then they give up. But I think, with this step, to me, it's like the fact that, you might fail a few times, but just keep going. Leave the door open for the possibility. Say, you know what, today I messed up, but tomorrow's a new day. Let's just keep the door open here. I'm going to be successful. It just might take a little longer. So that's really what I mean with that is, keep that optimistic mode. Say, let's start over. Let's hit the redo button. And that's the bottom line with that for sure. Buddy up, I like this one. So find a friend or somebody maybe at work or in your social circles, that kind of thing, that wants to change their vocabulary too, that wants to be more positive, that wants to attract what they want in their lives. So find that person, because you're going to be doubly as successful. I mean, it's going to double your success rate. They're going to catch you in the moment, and you're going to catch them in the moment and say, you're saying that again, just, why don't you substitute next time? Let's try it over here. Let's go to this person, and you use your word, and I'll use my word. That kind of thing. So definitely find someone who wants to do it with you, because it's really going to be not only fun, because you can really, make it a fun situation, but also it's just going to double your success rate. Climb the chart. Yeah. So with this one, I always love this one because I think it's fun. Who doesn't like stickers and rewards? Make a chart for yourself. Put it on the fridge, get yourself some gold stars, and every time you master a word on that list, put a star beside it and check it off. And say, I've used this enough now that it's almost automatic for me to be able to incorporate it into my vocabulary. So I've got it, nailed it. Perfect. So get out those charts and those gold stickers, because visualization of your success is going to keep you on track and get you to where you need to be. And I often use things like that because I can have a tendency, because I do have a little bit of perfectionistic energy about me, and that's okay, that's how I am. But if I can see the results, if I can see that I'm making progress, then I'm going to keep going. It's like anything, like a diet or changing your exercise routine or that kind of thing. The visual stuff really works. And the last one is become a wise sage. And what I mean by that is, you might have changed your list and you've got your top 10 list changed into the positive, so you've picked some positive words and you're going to start incorporating them into your vocabulary. But sometimes it's hard to come up with positive words. You might have a handful of them, but how are you going to keep going with this? Because you want to change everything you're saying. And if we have up to 50% of our words that are negative, we have a lot of words to change. We might not be able to think of them all at once and start changing them out, but keep researching. Look on the internet. Look at different spiritual books. Any source that you can look at that's going to inspire you or show you different word combinations. Maybe even a dictionary. Go to a dictionary and open it up and take a look at some of the positive words and start being creative with that. Just keep going with it, because it's not just about changing your top 10 words. You want to keep going with this. This is a maintenance thing. This is something to do with changing our behavioral patterns, which isn't necessarily going to be a quick fix and then it's over. It's like an exercise routine, a lifestyle change. You're going to need to maintain it. You're going to need to keep going with this. So as many positive words as you can find, be creative with it, because you might find a really great word that you love and it's going to make you feel so great, but you may never have found that if you didn't do a little research. So I'm all for research. I'm all for keeping the flow going by research. Okay, so positive affirmations. With positive affirmations, I was always a person who didn't resonate with those positive affirmation books because to me, they didn't work. If I was coming off the Christmas holidays and I had an extra 10 pounds and I'm saying, I am thin. Come on now. How does that make you feel? I am thin and I have those 10 pounds that are kicking around on me. I don't feel good about that. That doesn't make me feel good. So when I look at positive affirmations, I've always been one to rewrite them. To say, okay, how would I say this to make me feel like, number one, I'm going to be successful at losing that 10 pounds, but also doesn't make me feel like, terrible about myself. So what I say with these words is that there's a 3-step process with creating your own personalized affirmations. You want to make them personal. Because remember I said in the beginning is that it has to resonate with you. It has to make you feel good. And if that, I am thin doesn't make you feel good, then it's not going to work. So number one is that you want to identify your negative patterns. So what are you using the affirmation for? Is it because you want to lose weight, or is it because you want to be more positive, or that you want to, I'm trying to think of a good example of an affirmation. Does anyone have a good example of an affirmation that they've used in the past? I am happy. Well, if you're not happy, then is it really going to get you there? I mean, to me, it doesn't resonate. It doesn't really, there's a missing step there for me. It feels like I'm leaping from here to here, but there's nothing in between. Do you know what I'm saying? Go ahead.
One of mine is I'm going to look for and notice all of the things that I enjoy seeing.
Okay, and how does that work for you? Yes? So I wonder if, because that sounds like a unique affirmation. It sounds like you made it, that you created it. Did you? Okay, but it sounds very personalized, if you know what I'm saying. It's not like I am thin or I am happy. It's very general. It's more of a personalized thing, and it resonates with you. It makes you feel good. It makes you feel like it is going to work, that you're not leaping from here to here and there's no bridge. You can see the end result there with that, right? So that's what I'm saying with those positive affirmations is that they need to resonate with you, number one. If the words don't resonate, they're not going to work. But you want to identify the negative pattern behind what you want to change. So if you're trying to lose those 10 pounds, you need to uncover, okay, why am I 10 pounds heavier? What made me put on this weight? Or what made me get to this place or not be happy? What is the underlying pattern here? So identifying that first, and then you want to choose the right words to change that pattern. So say you are 10 pounds heavier, but you tend to be an emotional eater. So why are you doing this to yourself? What is the reason behind that? Is it because maybe a childhood experience, or it helps to soothe you or ground you? Those kinds of things. And I mean, I'm using that example because I am. I'm an emotional eater. At times I am. So for me, I need to understand why I'm doing that, why I'm eating for comfort. For example, if I do a reading for someone or a numerology session, I will go to the cupboard and want chocolate. I want to ground because I'm picking up everyone's energy from the session, or from like a group setting like this. I'm open, so I'm really picking it up. And that's my pattern behind it. So this is why I'm doing it. So this is why I'm putting on the extra weight. That's my pattern. So how do I pick the right words to change my pattern? I'm going to pick words that are going to change that pattern. I'm going to write a positive affirmation that's going to change why I gravitate toward food to ground myself. So get creative with it. Rewrite it in your own words. So this is the third step. How do you want to rewrite your story? You don't want to be 10 pounds heavier all the time. You want to be comfortable in your own skin. You want to be the weight that you feel most comfortable. So you want to change that pattern. That's the bottom line. So when you're writing your positive affirmations, you want to pick words that are going to change that underlying pattern that isn't giving you the results that you want. And that's how positive affirmations really work. That's why I love them. They do work, but they have to resonate with you. They have to be changing the underlying pattern. Yes?
Earlier you mentioned the word no to yes or for.
Yes.
How do you translate that with
The numbers?
whether it's positive or negative?
Okay, because every number has its own positive and negative energy. So if you looked at no in the negative sense, 2 is the number, it's very dualistic. It's very codependent in the negative. It's very separated kind of energy. In the positive, 2 is the number of support. It's the number of cooperation. And that's what I was saying about Wayne Dyer, who could say no so eloquently. And it came across as not defensive or not pushy, just no. And had a very subdued, supportive energy. 2 is the number of intuition, sensitivity, peace, harmony, and cooperation. So it's a very gentle soul energy. And then yes was a 4. When we say yes, and do it in a very doubtless way, 4 is the number, the foundational number. It's the number of the square, and it's 4 sides. So it's very grounded. It's the number of practicality. It's the number of organization. So it's an energy when we say yes in a doubtless way that says, yes, I'm grounded in this foundation of yes, I know that that's what I want, and I'm going to build my foundation from there, kind of energy. 1 through 9, well, in my book, of course. I was actually going to go through the definitions of 1 to 9 just briefly, but I think we're getting closer to the time. We might have some time.
What about your name?
your name. And you know what? I have a section in the end that talks about brands and our professional image and what energy are we putting out there with our name frequency, for example. And why are some of the companies so successful? For example, I use Starbucks all the time as an example because Starbucks, what kind of name is Starbucks? I mean, think about the coffee bean. Okay, the coffee bean, I get it. It's called the coffee bean. It makes sense. But who calls a coffee company Starbucks? And why were they so successful? And I do believe Starbucks was meant to be another name, but they ended up calling it Starbucks for some reason or other. I don't really know the whole background on that. But the word Starbucks adds to 6. And 6 as a business name is very much the nesting energy. It's the number of creativity, creative expression. It's the visionary energy, but it's also the nurturer, the motherly, nurturing energy. And when I recommend houses for people, for example, that are young, they're growing their family, they want that nest, I say, you have to get a 6 house. If you're growing your family, if you're having more children, get a 6 house because it's going to feel to the children as well like a nest. So when you walk into Starbucks, the energy you get from Starbucks is that you can sit down and feel comfortable and have that cup of coffee and feel like you're at home, that you're in a nest, that you're comfortable and at ease. And that's one of the key secrets to a lot of the big brands. If you take any big brand like Nike, I can do it. That's their slogan. It's a 3. 3 is the number of inspiration. Bottom line, it's brand power. Brand power boils down to the vibration they're putting out there through their image, and it can be revealed through numbers. So our name, further to your question, our name, that was you. The name that we have is like our personality expression. How does the world see us? How are they viewing us? And it's through our name. So whether it be a business or your name professionally, it's a 6. Well, there you go. So you're the visionary, the creative energy, the nurturer, that kind of vibe for sure. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, this is where we were at with the brand power. And that's what I was saying. Like Starbucks, Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola is an 8. 8 as a business name, and the Chinese always say 8 is a lucky financial number, right? It's the number of abundance and manifestation. So when we talk about 8, 8 is doubtless. 8 is the number of confidence, assertiveness. So Coca-Cola has done very well for themselves with that brand, with that title, because it is doubtless energy. It has that, I am a giant and a corporate entity, and I'm staking my claim in the marketplace kind of energy. So they really did well for themselves. And you could take any brand and really figure out what's going on with them. And I'm not surprised, for example, Target with their Target breach or their security breach that they had, because Target is also an 8. And it's done very well, of course, but it's a particular kind of 8 because it adds to 26 before it reduces to 8. And if you look at the combination before it's reduced, it shows you what kind of base pattern it is. So we can even get further into this a little bit. And you will see that if you pick up a copy of my book, you can take it even further. But with Target, it's got the 6 in the weaker position. And the energy, if you look at a double-digit number, the outer number is always its greatest strength. The inner number is always its greatest weakness. And so for Target, they had the 6 in the weaker position, which really says that they are prone to things like drama or gossipy kind of energy, or because 6 in the negative is pessimistic energy. It's very critical. It's very judgmental. So they had a tendency to attract these kinds of drama-filled situations as a business, as a brand. Unlike Coca-Cola, who's not that combination. So that's, you can really break down the energy. It's bottom line, it's the energy. The energy they're putting out there, the energy we're putting out there, whether it be the words that we're speaking or our name as we hand someone a business card. I had a name change when I left the corporate world. My last name changed. And I had a hard time with that because as a professional woman, I didn't want to lose my identity, so to speak, who I had been for many years prior. But in hindsight, I realized that now when I hand someone a business card, my name is the 7, which is the truth seeker, the teaching learning number. And what do I do for people? I reveal truth to them. That's what I do through the work that I do every day, whether it be talking about the power of words or doing someone's numerology chart. I'm revealing truth. So I'm attracting the right clients, the right people when I hand them the business card. So that's, when we talk about names, when we talk about professional image, and I'll tell you, 99.9% of the time, I could do anyone's name here, and it would coincide with what you're doing or what you're meant to be doing. Names are not haphazard, and we think, oh, my mom just stuck this name on me, and it's, I hate it, but I'm stuck with it. It's really one of those things that it leaves me with a sense of awe every time I do a name, because it's not as haphazard as we think. Yes? You can look at many combinations. For example, in a social situation, it would be maybe a nickname, or say if you were Debbie and you went by Deb or something in a personal situation. You want to look at the name that resonates with you the most. So if you do go by Deb most of the time, you want to look at that. But you want to look at it from the perspective of being in that social situation. How do they see you in that setting? But say at work, maybe you go by Debbie, whatever. So you want to look at that too, because that's your professional image. And then also your full name. Your full name is always the underlying personality expression. So whether you put on different hats in different situations, whether it's social or work, that's always going to be your most underlying tone. It's going to be the one that pops up even underneath those other masks, so to speak. Yes? Yes. Yes. Okay. Really? Really? Well, see, that's what I'm saying, the energy, right? Well, that's amazing. Wow. Okay, so beyond the top 10. So now you've shifted your top 10 list. Now what's next? You've got that top 10, you've changed it into the positive, you went through all the steps to get you there. You feel like you can check them all off on your chart because you've mastered them and you're incorporating them every day. So what do you do next? You create a new list and keep going. So make a new list of some of the negative words that you still might be using or that are still creeping in there. Keep going with it. Add new positive words too. Don't necessarily think that you're done once you've changed all your negative main words out. You want to keep adding more positive ones. Doing that research, doing that homework, picking different and unique energies that are going to get you to where you want to be in life. And even look to people that are successful. We were talking about Oprah in the beginning. What kind of words does Oprah use? She's manifested quite a bit for herself. So looking at people like that and saying, you know what, I want what she's got, or I want what he has. What kind of words are they using? And we were talking earlier that positive people use, and positive successful people use more positive words. So find out what they're saying. And if you want what they have and you want to manifest it, model what they're saying. Not to the T, but pick and choose what resonates with you from those people. Okay, so yeah, don't get discouraged, because you want to set daily, weekly, and monthly goals. You don't necessarily want to say, okay, I've got these top 10 words, how am I going to change them, what do I do? Set yourself some little goals, like I was saying before. Maybe every day you'll pick one, or maybe once a week you'll take just one a week and you only have time for that. That's good, Just set it at your own pace, and you'll be much more successful that way. Don't necessarily feel like you have to follow, say, my book to a T and do it daily or do it weekly. Set your own pace and set your own goals, because that's the personalization you need to be successful. You might have a busy lifestyle, but you're going to change. It's just you need to do it at your own pace so you'll be successful. That's the end result. That's the end goal. All right, well, that's it. Let's do some examples, because first of all, I want to do the word, I want to get a little spiritual here, because I know some of you are involved in the more spiritual aspects, for sure. One of the words, and I'm not religious in any sense, the traditional sense. I don't follow any particular religion. I don't even really follow any particular spiritual religion in the New Age sense. I just, like I say, pick and choose what resonates with me, and I integrate it into my lifestyle. But what I have found, one of the words, and my third book is going to be called The God Frequency, because it's really one of those energies that throughout cultures and throughout even the New Age, people speak the word God sometimes. And it always intrigued me, because like I say, I've been neutral in the religious sense. But the word God vibrates to this. So if we assign it numerical values, Yes, sorry, I had to think. See, that's that memory lapse again, right? Okay, so we're assigning that numerical values. And the word God shows us why we're all here. regardless of path or purpose. It's like a global energy pattern that says this is our main reason for existence as humans. And if we break it down, numerically speaking, the word God, this is the number 1 is the number of verbal self-expression. It's all about how do we communicate verbally, how do we share in the verbal sense. 7 is the truth seeker, the teaching learning number. And 8 is the number of wisdom. So remember I was saying a lot of our existence is wrapped around the fact that we interact with other people as a means of growing and evolving as a soul. And so we communicate, and remember I said as well that as humans we are the only species that can consciously communicate verbally. So we are here to verbally express the truths of the divine for the purpose of spreading wisdom and knowledge for soul's growth. And that's the essence of why we're all here. We may have different ways of doing that or ways of getting to that same result, but that's essentially our global purpose as humans. So I really think that it's an interesting concept in the fact that this word shows up a lot in various cultures and throughout history. Well, that didn't erase very well. Okay, so let's pick a word. I mean, what have we got for time here? Okay, let's do a couple words just for fun. Does anybody want to throw out a word to me? Love. We did love. Oh, we want to do Okay, and I want to do that power one too, because I don't think I've done that before. Let's see what the energy brings for this. So, we've got a 3, the number of inspiration, right? But it's also the first mind plane number, which is that analytical, scientific, searching, seeking kind of energy. And I'm a 3. That's why I always say I'm always the researcher, always the one to want to uncover the deeper meaning, the deeper truth. So it really, I think, jives with the whole concept of Jinn and what it stands for. And, it's all about inspiration, but it's also about digging deeper and being that natural scientist kind of energy. So it makes sense, for sure. Let me see that power word. That's a good word because when you look at the last century, the 1900s were all about money, power, greed. And if you've noticed, the 2000s, we haven't seen as much progress and achievement, not nearly the level that we've seen in the previous century. If you think of those 100 years from the 1900 to 2000, we had things, we went from the Little House on the Prairie days, literally, to being this advanced civilization in 100 years. And then if you look at the 2000s, it's slowed down substantially. And it's because, I'm interested to see what this adds to, because we had the 9 energy in the 1900s, and now we're in the 2s. 9 is the number of ambition, idealism, and responsibility. And 2 is the number of intuition, sensitivity, peace, harmony, and cooperation. So we are, in essence, in the new age. And that's why we've seen such a slowdown of progression in terms of the outer success. The achievement in terms of climbing the corporate ladder and the money, power, greed, that kind of thing. Okay, let's see. 16. Interesting. Yes, so Hitler. Hitler was a 32-5. It's all in the negative, it's all about power seeking. 5s, in particular this combination, 5 in the negative wants to dominate. It wants to seek out power and control. 5 is the number of the heart and emotions, but when it's in that negative form, it wants to dominate. So it's a perfect combination for the word power. And the reason being is because this particular combination of the 5, you've got the 3 in the outer position and the 2 in the inner position, and they battle each other out. Because in the negative, you've got a flip-floppy energy. You've got 3 as a number of imagination and memory and inspiration, but when it goes into the negative, it is very self-doubting, self-critical, that kind of energy. And then the 2 in the negative is dualistic. It doesn't, it wants to be separate. And it's also very codependent at times. So it's this flip-floppy, but in the positive, it's very supportive, very loving, very caring, which goes in the 5 category. Go ahead. Oh, sure, yeah. So anyway, yeah, definitely the word power is a perfect example of the fact that what are we creating when we use that word or do it in the negative sense? Because if we talk about personal power, then it's very freeing, because 5 is a number of freedom of expression, right? So when we say, I have personal power, I'm in my personal power, or, in a positive sense, if we're using the word power, then yes, it's a beautiful energy. It's so freeing, it feels like you can fly. But then in the negative, it wants to dominate and control. So, perfect. Let me just see. Yeah?
Can you define again how and when you would use the negative versus the positive of the number?
Of the words?
Yes.
It depends on how you're using the word. So like I was using that example, right? If you're using it in the positive and saying, I'm in my personal power, and you feel very strong and confident in that space, then you're using it in a more positive sense. So you would be using the combination of the more positive form of the numbers, or the number of frequencies. And then if you're using it in a negative sense, saying, I don't know, I guess I'm drawing a blank on an example, but you know what I'm saying. If you use it in a more negative tone, then you're using the negative form of the numbers. Okay, so power up. Let's just add the up to that. So it's 10. So it's 6. 6 is the visionary number. So together, this is going to form a 6 base energy. So when we talk about this event, it is that visionary, seeing the bigger picture, seeing it from an eagle's eye view. So it's an educational series. What better energy to have than the number of creativity, creative expression, the visionary number, seeing the greater perspective or the greater picture. And again, it does give that energy of the family or coming together, because 6 is the nesting energy as well, the nurturing energy. So it really makes sense. Yes? The number 11? That's an interesting energy. I actually have a tattoo of 1111, and I'm not a tattoo person. Let me just say, I'm not, a biker chick that has a bunch of tattoos or anything. But several years ago, I guess about 2 years ago, I felt like I needed it to be a piece of me, because I see it everywhere. I see it, in clocks and addresses. I see it everywhere I go. Obama and his wife Michelle are both 11 life paths. They are the 11-11 pair. Love them or hate them, they are actually, and if you've noticed, Michelle Obama has been seen in like Target dresses, and they always put money secondary. And yes, they haven't done everything right. I'm a Canadian, so I can be more on the fence about this and see it from a different perspective than Americans, because I'm not into the politics of America just yet. But yeah, they're the 11-11 pair, and it's no coincidence that they were elected. And yes, like I say, they're not doing everything right, but what they're going to do, it's almost as though they're interjecting a thorn into the system, because that's what has to happen for America to change their views on money and their views on, so really, I think in a sense, a lot of ways they're kind of rattling the cage, kind of shaking things up and giving us a different perspective. Because if you're an 11 life path, you always put money secondary. It's always this energy, and maybe that's why he's not done everything right with the money thing, because they don't get the money thing as much, right? So what I think it's doing is shaking the system up, breaking the old patterns and getting people riled up in a sense, so that we do change our view on money. Interestingly, Romney was a 9. The word money is a 9. And I was talking about the 1900s, it was a 9. All about money, power, greed. 9 is very boxed in energy. It's very black and white, right and wrong. It doesn't want to change. It doesn't want to step out of that little square, right? 11 adds to 2. 2 is all about being more intuitive, being more open, being more go with the flow. So that's what's happening here, is that we're shifting. But anyway, 11, that's a very significant number. It really does represent that new age dawning, because that's what we're moving into. We're moving away from the 9 and into the 2. And I was just talking on my radio show the other day that 9/11, well, I guess the date 9/11 is chock full of numerical codes. Because if you take 9/11, 9 plus 1 plus 1 is 11. The first plane that hit was Flight 11. That date in particular, it's almost as though it were a marker for this shift that's happening. So yeah, the 11 I could go on for days about, but I guess we're off topic a little bit. But the word money, I mean, that's definitely a word, so we can talk about that, but it is a 9. And by the way, money is a 27-9. So when we talk about money, 7 is in the weaker position. 7 in the weaker position is all about distrust. So how do we feel about money as a whole? We never have enough. We're always worried we don't have enough. There's always that lack or that distrust that it's not always going to be there. So that's why we need to change our perspective on money, because the word money gives us that sense of fear, that sense of lack, and we don't trust it. So that's my 11 thing. There's so many things with that 11 that we're shifting into this 11 energy, and there's so many people that are seeing 11. I know that it's kind of a phenomenon.
How did you determine the number for the century?
With this 9, because it shows up in everyone's date of birth. Everyone born in the 1900s had at least 1 9 in their date of birth. So we carry that money, power, greed, that energy that wants to climb the corporate ladder. We're very structured in the sense that we want to achieve. We always want to be moving forward. And I think that's part of the reason why a lot of people hit stumbling blocks as well, because as a society, we're taught that we're always needing to push ahead. But energy goes like this. We don't always push ahead. There's times when we need to ebb and flow with the energy. We need to pause and integrate what we've learned and then move forward. So as a society, that 9 is like a driving force because it's the number of ambition and idealism. So it's wanting us to go full steam ahead. But if you think of those special kids that are born today in the 2000s, a lot of them don't even have a 9. And they're very vastly different from the rest of us. This is the group that I talk about. There's a lot of kids born in the 1998, 1999 era. That was the era of the ADHD group or the ADD group. And every other kid was being diagnosed as having ADD or ADHD. And because they had multiple 9s, 9 is the number of ambition, idealism, it's the most active mental number. So these kids were all being diagnosed as that. And now we have the 2000 babies who have multiple 2s, the number of intuition and sensitivity. And what are they being diagnosed with? Autism. And they're sensitive. Tags bother them, food textures. They're just hypersensitive because 2 is the number of intuition and sensitivity, right? So it's the most active soul number. So that's really a phenomenon in itself. But that's where I got the 9, is that everyone has a 9 in their date of birth. So we really carry that energy of the ambitious driving force, whereas the new generation does not. The new generation wants to be more and just, be who they are and not have to feel like they're always driving forward to something. So, and as we talk about the new age, it's all about being, the essence of just learning how to be. Yes?
So if we have a number show up in our weaker position, does that mean that number is our...
If you look at someone's life path, yes. So if you were, say, a 24-6, that would be your weakest area, and that would be your greatest strength as the 6. So yeah. And likewise with words, it's the same thing. Like I was saying with the word money, is that you look at the unbroken down version to see the strength and the weakness of that word. The number 22? We're getting a little off topic. This always happens to me, but I love it. I love to do the numbers and do what I do, but it always ends up gravitating toward that because everybody wants to know, well, what's my number? If that word means that, what's my number? 22-4 is the master builder, so it's all about being I always say with this life path, they're always the ones that go in and say, okay, this is what you need to do, this, and this, and my work here is done. They're kind of that earth guide energy. They just intuitively know what to do and how to do it, and they go do it, and then they just kind of step back like earth angel kind of energy. And they're not looking for the pat on the back they just love to do it for other people because 4 is the number of the square, and it's the builder, it's the foundation energy. So they're the doers, but they do it in an intuitive way because they've got the double 2s, which is the number of intuition and sensitivity. So they combine that with the physical, and you've got a win-win with that because you're just very much the one that can see the structure of things and how it's supposed to go. Yeah, and just as a last example, I always love to use the word like organic or things like that because so many people are trying to eat well, and what does that really mean, just for a fun example, for a last example. Right, so it adds to 40. So when we talk about eating organic, we want to eat raw, we want to eat of the earth. And what is that? It's a 4. 4 is the number of the square, and it's 4 sides. It represents the foundation. So when we eat organically or organic, we're eating that earthly energy, or we're creating that earthly energy. So that's, we could go on for days and days and do, but like I say, any word you do, any word, and you can challenge me on that, any word. Go ahead.
In one of my favorite books on numbers, Dan Millman talks about.
Love him.
Love him too. I love.
Yes.
Anyway, 0, he talks about being inner gifts.
Yes.
Do you subscribe to that? Is that
Yes.
similar to what you're talking about?
Yes. Yes, and that's why a lot of these spiritual, these kids are very spiritual, like those kids being born in 2000s and later, because they're carrying those zeros. The more zeros that are in, say, a word or a date of birth, for example, it does emphasize the message, or it makes it more pure energy. So if you're talking about organic and it has a 0, it's adding that depth to it, that purity, that it just amplifies it. It amplifies that it's of the ground, it's raw, it's real, that kind of energy. And likewise, if you see it in someone's date of birth, they're usually those kinds of people who almost seem like they have fairy dust on them, because it's like their soul is shining through. They have this extra oomph when it comes to the spirituality aspect. So for sure, these kids are very spiritual, very intuitive, because they carry not only the 2, which is a number of intuition and sensitivity, but multiple zeros. 2009? Well, yeah, it definitely does, because if you add it up, it's 11, right? But breaking it down, it's got, the 2, but the 9, the 9. I guess, you'd have to look at the whole thing, depending on who it was or what kind of energy they're carrying, that kind of thing. All right, well, okay, I get question after question. I think I'm running out of time, guys, but we'll take maybe one more. Or no, we don't have time? One more? Okay. All right, I like the green in the back, the green color. I love this question, because I always use this example of the classic nagging wife and the tuned-out husband who says, yes, dear. You want to say, okay, why aren't these people connecting? What's going on here? With relationships and number patterns, it opens the door to so many possibilities. Because when you think about it, this nagging wife might not be so nagging. She's just an overthinker and an overanalyzer. She might have a lot of mental energy on her birth chart, or in her date of birth. So, and then the husband, for example, he might be very physical based and have a lot of physical numbers in his date of birth. So they're just not speaking the same language. So when you think about that relationship, when they know that about each other, then all of a sudden there's much more patience and understanding. And the husband says, well, okay, she's just in over-analyzing mode right now. She's not being nagging. She's just getting in the what-if scenarios again. And I need to rein her back in and help her get grounded and centered. And maybe he might start making suggestions to her and say, listen, I see it like this. And then they start communicating more. And they realize it's not about them. It's just who they are. Right? They're not taking hits at each other. And same thing with the tuned-out husband. He might not necessarily be tuning her out. It's just he doesn't get where she's coming from, because he's a physical-based person. So it just completely transforms relationships when you know what energy the other person is. Just like a word. Same thing. You just want to reveal what's underneath the surface through the number patterns. And like I said, with Troy, what he was saying in the beginning is that it's just a different way to see the truth. So whether you're looking at astrology or numerology or whatever modality or tool you're using, it's just the same answers. It's just a different way to see it. All right, so I guess that's a wrap. And I know we could go on for days, but